Bear, congratulations on your short film, Synthesize Me.
Thank you, Gig. No, thank you very much.
You know what? More of a congratulations. It's being showcased at South by Southwest this year for as part of the narrative shorts. How do you feel about that?
Super excited and honored and ecstatic. Yeah, it's really hard to get into big festivals with your short, and and I don't take that for granted at all. So I'm super humbled and honored that we can show our film at something like South by.
Most excellent. Yeah, it is a very prestigious film festival, one of the biggest around the world. But let me ask that obligatory question first is where the original idea came from for Synthesize Me?
Oh, I used to collect synthesizers, and I used to be a musician, so synthesizers has always been sort of my dream object to make music with since ever I was young, and since I saw it for the first time. I saw people like bands like Yellow Magic Orchestra or like Tangerine Dream. I saw them fiddling on this mysterious machine. So synthesizers as as a subject have always interested me, and I love synths, and I have a big collection of synthesizers. To get really nerdy about it, like I have a very specific period of time in which I love the synthesizers, which is pre 1983, which is pre MIDI. I won't bore you with all these details, but that's kind of like the my sort of specific thing that I really love, and the sound of those synthesizers I really love the most, like late 70s synths. So that's one component, obviously component of the movie. And then the other component is just the dramatic notion of a father and a daughter not really understanding each other, and sort of feeling a little puzzled, and also while going through grief, like how to interact with each other and how to show affection and sort of go through life together. And I was just really fascinated by that. And in general, I'm fascinated by people who kind of do things to each other just because they don't really understand each other. And I think that's very archetypical, but that's very much at the core of this film.
Now, the setting that you have, I believe it's Mexico. Can you talk about that? Because your background is not Mexican at all.
No, I'm not. I'm not Mexican. So I actually wrote this film for another location, but that turned out to be really difficult, and like also didn't really feel quite right in a sense because it was a little like it would really help if there was a little bit more, if the arena of this film had a little bit more plausibility of the inciting incident, which I don't really want to spoil, actually happening. And then I really love Mexico, so I go there. Ever since the first time I came there, I try to return often, and this time I was traveling through Mexico for like a month. And what really, and anyone who's been to Mexico City even will understand this. Like if you look up, you see the electrical system of Mexico is quite fragile and a little messy, and it's a little unstable, and it's a little, people sort of tap illegally from it quite easily. And you see these little short circuits happening, or it's like whizzing or buzzing and or glitching or just flat out, malfunctioning. So I thought, wow, this is interesting. Like these unstable currents, I saw this metaphor come to life again in this script that I was sort of at a wall, sort of hitting a wall with. So suddenly I felt, wow, this is the arena. Like this could well be the arena. So I researched a little bit what the liminal towns were to Mexico City that sort of only exist kind of on the peripheral of a big town, just like
Mhm.
let's say Lancaster as to Los Angeles. It's just like a little town with like some trailers and a few buildings, and there's like huge pylons of electricity going to Los Angeles, that they live underneath basically. And that is what this town was. Chonacatlan is what is the name of the town. And yeah, that's why I felt this is perfect for this story, because it has that sort of allegoric thing that you need to create the metaphor for the visual metaphor for their struggle with each other.
Absolutely. And you also filmed this in entirely in Spanish too. Tell us about that decision, and was that a challenge for you?
It was. I speak some Spanish. Like I'm not great. I'm not fluent at any or at all, but I try and I can, make a conversation, but I'm definitely not fluent enough to sort of really easily, see the tiny little expressions in the language, and also Spanish that I'm from Europe, so like my Spanish that I'm used to is also very different from Mexican Spanish. So I had help there, and luckily I had the loveliest first ADs, Aldo and Mar, who both were amazing, my first and second AD, and they both served as ADs, but also kind of as translators. And our young lead, Ivana, didn't speak English. So all the conversations that I had with her were already kind of, they were kind of wobbly and difficult for her to understand, difficult for me to understand, like to have a real quick sort of nuanced conversation about dialogue and intention. And I was lucky enough that I had this amazing team that helped me see that and see the vision of the film and help me get that across with Ivana.
So in order for this story to work, it does come down to the casting between the father and daughter. And you mentioned Ivana a few times, which I also want to know why you casted someone who entirely speaks Spanish that you have difficulties communicating. But tell us about the decision of this casting for the father and daughter in order to come up with this emotional chemistry for your film.
Yeah. I just, so part of it I feel is just intuition and just something like this is the person I'd like to spend time with in this film. So I felt that with Ivana. It's also a short film, so you don't have the resources to do, huge castings or like have a lot of time to sort of go through and shift through a lot of people and actually have them audition. So, what you end up with is sort of in a short period, you look at 10, and if you're lucky 20 people, and it's in there or it's not, um and um and I think we're just very lucky. So I saw Ivana, and I saw how vulnerable she was in her audition, and she was able to you know to really draw all these big emotions out of nothing. And that is just a super rare feat. And then also just looking at her, I felt like this is definitely a character I want to spend time with, and I can project the emotion that I wanted from the film. I could definitely project it on her. And for Antonio Trejo Sanchez, the father who played the father, he was, what I wanted from him is to be able to be stoic and sort of in his silhouette and in his physical performance really show that sort of stoic, sort of troubled mind father. And because his performance is really a physical one, he doesn't have a lot of dialogue in the film. And then, I wanted to be able to project that onto him. But then at the pivotal moment later in the film, he also had to, show another emotion. And I think I saw immediately that he was able to do that. So that was what I was looking for.
Now, also a part of this to set the mood is the production set, the workshop that you actually have to. I want to say you didn't have to build it, but you have to find it, and but you have to put in all the machinery, the synthesizers. Can you describe that for us on that
Sure.
process? Yeah.
Yeah, so the setting is 1989. Which a period piece in Mexico is less difficult than it is in other locations because a lot of the cars on the road, for instance, are already kind of, 80s, at least at this point, and that is by no means sort of a demeanor. It has a demeanor in it towards Mexico. That's just the way it is, and that's the way that the texture of the that countryside is. And So that helped. And I thought it's my favorite period of synthesizer. So that's I just set it in that era. Um, so I knew because I knew exactly which synthesizers I wanted in the scene, but I couldn't ship them all from my studio to Mexico. It would just be too much and too expensive. So we found this amazing guy who goes by the name of Akira Honda. But yeah, I know that he's Mexican, so it's not his real name. But he has a studio in sort of downtown Mexico City, amazing studio, beautiful synths, but it's like very much almost like a museum. And he was not very keen on, these things are expensive and rare. So like, he was not very keen on sort of handing him out to like some weird short film guy from the Netherlands. Like, yeah, I'm going to just use it for 3 days to shoot my short film with. So we really had to convince him and sort of show him that I'm not just an idiot who wants like some synths in his scene, but like I actually knew what it was and that I would treat it with respect. And respect is something I really it goes without saying, I guess, but like I hold in high regard to everything we did with this short. The whole crew is Mexican. The only thing not Mexican in the crew was me. And yeah, really in a family vibe, we sort of together with the Mexican producers from the Mexican company called Violeta, we finally convinced this man to lend us his beautiful, precious synthesizers and then our production designer, Anna Blizzard, she really made a beautiful set out of it. And that's really our main set piece together with what happens after that scene, obviously. Yeah.
Now, the musical score that you introduced into your film, was that your score that you wrote for the film, or did you have to bring someone else in for this?
I got a lot of help. So we did it together with Rob Kovacs. Rob Kovacs is a composer and for anyone who knows about this. I'm a huge Steve Reich fan, and I wanted the music to have that sort of loop based sort of polyrhythmic um, um, tone to it. And there's a famous YouTube video of one guy in college performing one of the most famous Steve Reich pieces, Piano Phase, with two of his both hands. So just one person performing this piano phase, which is a really difficult piece because it's like just one piano loop going on, and then there's another one that's basically the same but just on another time, and they sort of flow into each other and then out of each other again, which is insane. You have to be able to split your brain on different clocks and like do that. And he was able to do that. And just in just an inspired evening, I thought, man, to heck with it. I'll write a mail to this guy. Maybe, he responds and wants to help me with writing the score. And he did. And it turns out he's a very sort of active synth guy as well. And he has a Twitch channel in which he streams music. So he was like super great and kind and helpful. So he wrote the main song, or composed the chorus of the main song called "Lily of the Valley," and then we went back and forth with it, so it became a collaboration. And I did the rest of all the music around it. So that's the story of the composition.
Did you have to teach or train Ivana to use a synthesizer, or did you guys have to wing it?
We had to wing it. Is the short answer. Because like it's impossible to sort of really, I needed her for her acting skills. I didn't, it would be impossible to sort of find that perfect person that Ivana is as an actress and also be able to play the piano. So we had a stand-in for this is a funny story. We had a stand-in, a lovely stand-in that we kind of booked last minute and that had the same hands or like same age hands of Ivana. And she was there at the night that we had to shoot that. But then and bless her soul, but then she couldn't really do it, and she was a little, I think, a little intimidated by just sort of this crew saying like, "Okay, we got to go now," and like we have like 15 minutes, and you got to play this song for us now. Like cameras on it, like everyone's sort of stressed out because we were losing light and all that stuff, and then she kind of like couldn't do it, and so we said, "Okay, fine, it's okay, no worries." But we had to come up with other plans, so. I actually doubled her hands. If you look closely, you see that it's we sort of pulled focus to the background, so my hands were like out of focus, so you couldn't see like I was like creepy old man hands. So like it was just like, but it we actually got away with it. I think no one ever noticed it. So that's actually yeah, that's actually a sort of an Easter egg in the film.
I know it's always a wonder how movie magic actually works, but you know you're right. We actually watch these films for the enjoyment of the story. Bear, I've taken a lot of your time already, but we wanted to talk about is what's coming up next with you.
Well, thanks for asking. And thanks for your time in general. So I've written another short. I just want to do something completely different, and Synthesize Me is my first short. So I also feel like, I love it. I love everything about this film, but I also see all its flaws, and I just want to explore also a completely different thing. So I wrote a psychological horror that just takes place in one house, which is also a very personal story, and it's called Tiny Little Cuts, and it's very dark, but has a lot of dark comedy in it as well. And we're in pre-production for that. And yeah, I've written it out. I have a feature film on development, which is a road movie, a Yakuza road movie, actually. So yeah, that's basically what I'm working on.
Well said. Well, Bear, thank you very much. It's very appreciative that you speak to us about Synthesize Me. I really hope that you go to South by Southwest to enjoy the festivities over there and watch the audiences, get attached to your film. So let's enjoy this moment at the festival. So thank you very much, Bear.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Gig. Thank you for your time and thank you for your questions.
Hey, thank you. Next time. Bye now.
Bye bye.